All right. So first of all, Nepali Congress and CPN UML strike a deal to oust Prachanda, propose Oli as SPM. Now you should be aware about the politics that is happening around you, especially for Ayar as well. Now there are three major contestants in Nepali politics. One is the CPN UML. Then you have and then you have this Nepali Congress, and then you have the Communist Party of Nepal, which is basically where Pushpa Dhamal comes from, Prachanda comes from. Although he has only 32 seats, but at the same point of time, he was being supported earlier by UML and then by Congress and then again by UML. So this is where the politics of Nepal has been revolving over the last few years. So in fact, in the last 16 years, they've had 13 different governments, and that is why you see no stability. I mean, I was there in Nepal a couple of months ago, and I could see that it's still there in the early 2000s, late 90s era. It has not changed, and that is to do with political stability. And you can use these examples that political stability, especially with a country like India, what happens is that you can take more decisions. So and that is the case with both Pakistan as well as in case of Nepal. So this is what is happening. This Pushpa Kumar Kamal Dahal will be ousted because the two major parties, Nepali Congress and CPN UML, have come together, while the other parties like Rashtriya Swatantrata Party has said that the government has changed, or the government is about to change, because the Communist Party of Nepal was opening cases against UML as well as Nepali Congress. So this is one part of current affairs, international relations, that you should be aware about. Then and this will be very handy for you for your interviews as well as writing a little in depth while writing answers. And we're going to do a lot about this with respect to different countries. For example, this is an year of elections, so you have something happening in Nepal. Elections are almost concluded in Great Britain. Then elections are going to happen in France, as well as in your US. So all of these have huge implications on India's relationship, and you should understand the political framework of each particular country to see and foresee what are the kind of repercussions that will have, or the ripple effects that might have on our foreign policy. Now, Trump is partly shielded from prosecution, US Supreme Court. Now, this is a topic that we'll again cover in the explained section. Now, what has happened is that Donald Trump was being prosecuted in one of the courts for basically trying to reverse the decision of 2020 elections. So there was something of sorts that happened in the US Congress, and there was an attack by a group of basically his party backers onto the Congress at that point of time. So he's being alleged, he's being prosecuted in that case. But what this US Supreme Court has recently said is that he is because of the constitutional position that he holds. You have to separate out what President Trump was doing in his official and constitutional capacity, and what he was doing in his personal capacity. And it's very difficult to differentiate what you are doing. Suppose you are the prime minister, it's very difficult to say what you are doing in your personal capacity and what you are doing in your official as well as constitutional capacity. So what the US Supreme Court has said that anything that has been done in the constitutional and official capacity cannot be is shielded from any kind of prosecution, which again opens up a new facet to US politics, that anything that has been done by a previous president, that means that president cannot be prosecuted. So the problem is that unlike our system, where the judges are through a collegium system, in case of US, they are basically backed by different parties and backed by presidents. And there, where in the US Supreme Court, what is there is a majority of them are Republican backed judges, and only a few are liberal judges, which were backed by the Democrats. So that is where the problem lies when it comes to when it comes to a judicial system like US. And when you're using such examples, suppose if you have to compare the Indian judicial system to the US judicial system, you can see the bipartisanship that is there in India is not available in the US Supreme Court. So this is another issue. The third thing is the President Ruto must go now under the pressure from IMF. Kenya was taking a lot of measures. I mean, and it had some plans of increasing taxes, but there were widespread this thing protests in Kenya, and there was some very very comic this thing also coming on this thing Reddit. I don't know whether you follow Reddit or not, but I saw a very very funny video where I think what a tear gas shell was thrown in front of the protesters, and they were smoking the tear gas cans just like you're smoking a vape. So it was a very funny kind of a thing. Now then again, French 200 French candidates bow out in a bid to block far right. Now we have already talked about the three kinds of leaders that are coming from the French side, and it is the ultra right which I think is holding a lot of weight this time. So again, what will that have an implication on India? Then we'll read about this particular article in the main editorial, because Keir Starmer is basically on the cusp of power. He's from the this thing the Britain's Labour Party, and we also have to see how Britain's Labour Party's view were in the earlier times versus how the Conservatives, which are Tories, they had a different kind of relationship with India. And typically in the last 10 years, Indian Britain relationships have gone from strength to strength, and that a lot of credit has to be done to given to the Tories which were there in power. So again, you should be very aware of your countries that you are relating to, or your countries that you are talking to, especially major powers and neighbors. So I can expect, okay, maybe Iran you should not know the entire process, but yes, for all our neighbors you should know the internal politics as well. And for major powers, for example US, Germany, France, Great Britain, China, your Japan, these are all countries that you should be aware of, that what is happening in their own domestic politics as well. So just a fair bit of idea. So we'll anyways read about this particular article. At least 116 killed in stampede at Hathras religious gathering. Most of them are women. Now what I've also done is, if you see the GPT version, let me show. So again folks, as I told you, make sure if you're using the GPT version, you read the article. I have been telling you time and again, do not take shortcuts with GPT, because you will lose the essence of the entire article. But the way that it will help you is, yes. So this was the summary that that I had given it from another page, and it is because of overcrowding and extreme humidity. But at the same point of time, what is extremely important is yeah. What is extremely important is this crowd management technique. So the moment that this comes into picture, you should be aware about what are the crowd management techniques. Suppose this is a question that has been asked in ethics as well, that suppose this kind of huge congregation is coming to your city where you are a DM. What are the steps that you are going to take? So this is the crowd management, and it could be a stampede, it could be riot, it could be in any other emergencies. You should know about these techniques. So it's basically planning and preparation, risk assessment, that how many people, for example, statistically speaking, you could use a Poisson distribution. From people who are from statistics should know what Poisson distribution it basically it does it what a Poisson distribution does it gives you the probability of an extreme event based on the flow that you are getting. And in fact, most of the crowd management technique is done using a lot of Poisson distribution analysis. So you have risk assessment, you have by the way, you will study that for the Indian Economic Services as well. So then you have capacity planning. where I mean, how many people are expected, how many seats do you have, emergency routes that are there. Then clear signage. So for example, you should know that when you get into an aeroplane, they tell you that the exit gates are properly marked, and there are lightings on the aisle to show you that which is the way that needs to be taken, even if there is pitch darkness. So this clear signage should be there, announcement should be there, staff should already be there. Then physical barriers are also important, so that you know the flow of the people, so that you can use this fencing to basically segregate people. Then for example, segregating people who are coming into the temple and coming out of the temple. Then surveillance system, drones, crowd counters. Then staffing and training of your personnel, flow management, as I told you, is extremely important. And behavioral, you should also note that which event, for example, you are in different colleges, you have come from different colleges. If a person like Atif Aslam is coming, or if a person like say a very popular person is coming, you should expect that it will pull a lot of crowd. So do you have the capacity to do that, or can you flow it into multiple streams? So that is something again you can think about. And influence leaders, and who can help influence other managers. And then you should have your emergency response teams, rapid response team, evacuation programs, and post event analysis. So all of this is extremely important when it comes to crowd management. This is just an example for you to show that how you can integrate your GPT for your entire prep, and then get a broad sense of idea. But this has to be filled in with examples. You can give examples of college fests as well. You can give examples for such stampedes as well. You can give examples for riots as well. So but the idea is to use this kind of technology for your own assistance. Then let's come back to our original this thing. So you can read about this particular article. Heidenberg denies SEBI's claim on Adani's short bid, names Kotak fund. You can maybe read about this particular article. Now we had already talked about the this person Tajimul Islam, and how the rule of law has been broken down in the last few days, and what is called as Salishi Sabha or Kangaroo Court. You can read about this as well if you have not done it previously. But you can use this in your ethics case studies as well, where you have vigilante justice. So you can use this as an example of vigilante justice. Then coming to then there's another article. I've also provided the GPT version, and also folks, on Friday I might take a session on incorporation of GPTs into your prep. So Friday, instead of ma'am, I'll take the session for your optional. But in general, it will not be an optional oriented session. It will be a generic session for your entire GS and other Python. You can apply it for your optional as well, but it will be very wide in terms of use of AI, and how to basically automate a lot of stuff. So that we'll talk about. And then I'm checking out if for Indian economy you might need Copilot. If that is needed, maybe I can recommend you that as well. So that's basically a Microsoft again AI platform. So now coming to think tanks in the midst of tussle between ARP and LG. Now what has happened is that this particular body has now been dissolved, Dialogue and Development Commission of Delhi. Now this is a think tank which has been dissolved. This was the think tank behind when Kejriwal government came to power in 2015. It had appointed a lot of people to this particular think tank, just like works like Niti Ayog. But at the same point of time, it has a lot of official and non-official members whose remunerations were really high. They were hired as consultants, and because of this private public partnership of sorts, this think tank approach of sorts, the number of responses were taken. For example, Rozgar Bazaar platform, then the One Delhi app, as well as the Delhi electric vehicle policy of 2020. All of this was done through this particular project, but uh, because of the acrimonious relationship that Kejriwal government or the AAP government has with BJP at center, and because of the fact that Delhi is not a full fledged state. Therefore, this has been removed, and it has been alleged that Kejriwal has put certain favored political persons onto the board, and they were paid the perks of Secretary of Government of India. But from the knowledge that I have, the same thing happens with Niti Ayog. Niti Ayog is full of consultants with a lot of political patronage. You can't really get into Niti Ayog until unless you know someone who knows someone. So that is how this thing. You can probably say the same thing for the PM, Prime Minister Advisory Council as well. A lot of people have political backing in that particular commission as well. So that's double talk from the side of government. Then there is another beautiful article that I want you to read about before moving on to the important portions of our course of our paper. It's not the article per se, but I really was touched with this particular line. When Stephen Hawking came to India, he wished to see some mountains, some monuments, particularly in Delhi. Now, to enable to move to those monuments, for example, Qutub Minar and couple of others, temporary wooden ramps were installed, and he said that all I wished is that these ramps would remain, which means that easy access for people who are physically disabled should be there, and all the new buildings should be careful of these. So when you are writing about the community which is physically challenged, you can use this example. This is a beautiful example which the Honorable Chief Justice of India has quoted. Then let's move on to the important section, folks. There's a lot of other things that we need to do. Criminal immunity for Trump. As I've already told you about this particular article, what this article basically says, and you can also read about. By the way, Trump has already been convicted in one particular case, but this is regarding the Supreme Court of US with respect to the trial that is happening in District of Columbia Court, which is basically the case for when he tried to attempt to overturn the results of 2020. But if he becomes the president, then he will ask the Department of Justice to drop the case. So this is the issue. But at the same point of time, what are the dissenting judges talking about? So you can read, no man is above the law, and this is something which again is a moral or an ethical issue that you might write in your answer. So these are current affairs. This is the kind of current affairs that you need to use in your ethics and your essay, where you're giving a current example of an ethical dilemma that is going on, or a moral versus ethical dilemma that is going on in the US Supreme Court. Then Abdul Hamid, the hero of Asal Uttar battle. So recently the RSS Supremo Mohan Bhagwat had released this thing, Mera Papa Paramveer book, a book which is on the tales of Abdul Hamid. Now, Abdul Hamid basically was one of the persons who won the Paramveer Chakra. Now, you should also know what are the different kinds of gallantry awards that Government of India gives. So, you should know what Ashok Chakra is, what is Paramveer Chakra. It is the highest award that can be given, and it is during war. I suppose this is during war, and Ashok Chakra is given during peacetime as well. I'm not very sure, but please read about all of these chakras and what is associated with them, and who exactly gives them, when does the honoring happen. So which is given posthumously, and which is given otherwise as well. So Paramveer Chakra was given to him for the 1965 war, where he single-handedly destroyed 3 tanks and disabled one of them. So you can read about if you want to read a story about what had happened and the 2 to 3 day battle that happened in September 1965, you can probably read this article. Then before moving to Iran and Iran's presidential election, or maybe we can read Iran's presidential election as well. Just a second, folks. All right. All right. So if you see what is happening in Iran is that the president of Iran died recently in a helicopter crash, and after the death, there is a new president that needs to be elected. Now there are two sides that are there, as in case with every country. There is a liberal side and there's the hardliner side. So the liberal side, which is the reformist, is being represented by Masood Uh, Keshan, just see the pronunciation of this, and the hardliner is Saeed Jalili. So both of them are competing with respect to this particular election, and the presidential powers are also very very wide, but at the same point of time limited, because this is a theocratic state where they have the supreme leader, the Ayatollah. So the Ayatollah is basically the last word in case when it comes to Iran, but at the same point of time, the president of Iran has significant executive powers when it comes to managing economic affairs and representing Iran in international relations. So, and you have huge implications on foreign policy, because if you have a moderate, then and plus you have the elections in US as well. If Trump comes, he's a hardliner. If this guy Jalili comes, he's also hardliner, then it has implications on West Asia. But if you have liberals on both end, then you can probably see some kind of peace emerging in the upcoming some time. So this is something with respect to this particular article. Then comes a very good article with respect to your this thing, culture. Now, when you're reading something on culture, you might have to do a lot of research. For example, what is the Gandharva art, and others. For example, now Abhay Mudra and Buddhist and Hindu cultural symbol is symbol for conveying freedom from fear. Now, first of all, where did this origin of this news is coming from? Now, this was used by the leader of opposition, Rahul Gandhi, while he was confronting that he was not scared, and he was never. I mean, there was no fear in him. And this Abhay Mudra is a common thread of depiction among Hindus and as well as Buddhists. So you have Lord Shiva, Guru Nanak, Jesus Christ, and also this is figuring in Islam, Buddhism, and Jainism. I'm not sure how is it there in Islam, but maybe you could do a little bit of research on that. Now, mudras in Buddhism, the mudra basically means any kind of mark, sign, gesture, or a currency. So, mudra can be a currency as well. But in Buddhist context, it basically means hand and arm gestures to depict different rituals. So, it could be images of Buddha, bodhisattvas, tantric deities, and other Buddhist images. So, you should know the difference between different kinds of images of Buddha. What does each particular image, each particular pose tell you, and then what are bodhisattvas, what are the tantric version of deities. We'll talk a little bit about this, the evolution of Mahayana, Vajrayana, and then you have also the tantric version of Buddhism as well, and all of them have a different explanation to things. So mudras are basically visual depictions of Buddha, Lord Buddha, and which conveys different moods, different meanings, subtle manifestation, and for someone who was living in the 5th or 6th BC, his sculpture was basically was emerging from the Gandhara art. Till that time, Buddha was symbolized, especially at Sanchi, he was symbolized as a vacant throne or a footprint. See, the earlier depiction of Buddha in form of physical state was roughly around the turn of the first millennium. So around 100 1000 AD, you will see this particular thing coming up, and you have the depictions that started coming from Gandhara art form, from the Pakistan and the Afghanistan area, and then which also drew from Hellenistic influences. So you will see this curve in the hair of Buddha as well. And later on, the art of Gupta period also was incorporated. So you have to see the evolution. So it is, you can't just mug up art and culture like that. You have to be interested and keep asking GPT about it. Get a lot of pictures, have your notes in terms of pictures as well, different mudras as well. Maybe see a couple of videos for this as well, and then you will be able to understand it. And I'll be covering some part of this, even for your crash course on your art and culture as well. And there, this kind of visualization of stuff is going to be very important. And again, extensively use of GPT for your research. Then the earliest depiction of Bauddha Rupa, the four mudras can be found. The Abhay mudra, which is gesture of fearlessness. Then you have Brahmis Parsha mudra, which is earth touching gesture. Then you have Dharma Chakra mudra, which is wheel of Dharma. And then you have Dhyana mudra, which is the gesture of meditation. And as I told you that there are different versions. I mean, with the evolution of Buddhism into Mahayana and Vajrayana, and then into Tantric Buddhism, the spread of Buddhism also led to other parts of the world. And it is here that the Buddha's version is written. And then why is it the moment that he found this thing, enlightenment, the first mudra that is there was the mudra of Abhay mudra, and which basically says that fearlessness. Now there is a story with respect to that. It is a gesture of protection, it is a gesture of granting of refuge as well. And it talks basically about a legend in which Devadatta, cousin of Buddha, had not been granted some special treatment, and in order to plot harm to the enlightened one, he fed the elephant some intoxicants. And when these elephants were charging towards Buddha and his followers, all Lord Buddha did was he raised his hand and in the Abhay mudra, and then the elephant basically calmed down and gone down on his knees. So this is how this was the background of this. And in Hindu deities, Buddha himself was absorbed into the pantheon as the ninth avatar of Vishnu. So if you see Vishnu's avatars, in fact I was teaching my son all the avatars of Vishnu. I don't remember it well, but I think my son does. And the ninth avatar is Vishnu. And I think I told him a few other avatars as well. So and Hindus came to regard Buddha as the avatar of Vishnu between 1450 and 6th century, and this had also mentioning in one of the banned books again, Wendy Doniger's banned book, which was banned by the Congress in India, The Hindus and Alternative History. So you can read about all of this. It's a very interesting part where you can read about your history and your culture as well. Then this particular article, which is on, where is it? Let me just scroll my. Now this particular article is about the face-off between the government and the opposition. Maybe you can read it if you want to read about what is happening in India, Indian Parliament. It's back to square one, the same old politics before election. But it's an interesting read. I just at times I want that political this thing chuckle as well. So maybe read it for that political chuckle. Now coming to home for cheetahs. Now this is a very important news for your current affairs as well as for your environment. Now and again, an ethical issue might be there, that is translocation of animals good, or is it sustainable? Now what has happened is that we had introduced these cheetahs from Namibia and from South Africa into India. Now the major park was the Kuno National Park. Now you should first of all see Kuno National Park in your maps. Then you should also see what are the kind of rivers that are passing. Of course there has to be a river source or a pond or anything that is there. It's a national park. What are the protected areas, what are the different kinds of protected areas that are there. So all of that should you should automatically get into. But at the same point of time, do not lose track of time as well, that you only have an hour in your entire day for your entire current affairs. Things will come when once you cover environment, all of this will come again. But What is happening in this thing is that the Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary. Now you should also know where Gandhi Sagar is. It is now going to get certain cheetahs from the Kuno National Park. Now problem is that the carrying capacity of Kuno National Park has been exceeded because the prey base that is there, cheetahs that are there, are being hunted by both cheetahs as well as by leopards, and then you have other predators like sloth bear, striped hyenas, grey wolves, golden jackal, jungle cats, Indian foxes, marsh crocodiles. All of them are so basically it's like the chicken tandoori for just like chicken tandoori is there for Punjabis. I think cheetal is there for all of these animals. So all of them are basically hounding for the same prey, and that prey has gone down, and therefore what we are talking about is relocation of certain cheetahs from Kuno to Gandhi Wildlife Sanctuary. But the problem is that when cheetahs were introduced under Project Cheetah, now you should be aware of what the entire process of Project Cheetah was. There was a study which also talked about that that you should have adequate I mean the base of the animals that is there, the animals that will be prey to these predators. At the same point of time when you are relocating, you should also see the experiences that we have had from Kuno, because a lot of cheetahs had died in the initial few days earlier because of some collar infections, then because of other issues. So the Kuno National Park should give a lesson to the Gandhi Sagar Wildlife Sanctuary on how to relocate, and this is a moment where the policymakers have to live up to their expectations. Then uh, you can also read this particular article. It's a very good article, folks. Very important article for the role of sleep. So there is a very sound connection between sleep and improved cellular repair. And as I told you, there is when a lot of people ask me about how to go about say fitness, I tell them this formula. I told this to you earlier as well. Follow this formula, which is called as DEWS, which is diet, exercise, water intake, and sleep. These are four things that you need to remember. If you are not taking the proper diet, you will not be able to transform. If you are not exercising, well, when I say exercising, you need to push your body with a physical weight. So that will also help you be very toned. It will tone up your muscle, and then it will also basically give you a lot of positive. That physical pain that you're going to give yourself is going to have a multiple or a multiplier impact on your brain's capacity. And then your water intake, at least 4 to 5 liters, and then your sleep at least 6.5 to 7 hours. So this basically talks about that sport is at the highest level is about very thin margins. Even if 42 extra minutes of deep sleep can give an athlete an hairline advantage. So this is the entire topic. You can maybe read about this. And sleep might be even be there for disruption. In fact, I told you that if you can afford it, you can buy a ring which is by Ultra Human. You can research about that particular ring. It gives you a lot of insights about your entire day, your calorie intake, and even the kind of sleep that you are having. And sleep deprivation is a huge public epidemic that is there. Now there are online furniture sellers, for example the Sleep Company, and talks of smart grid sleep mattresses, and these companies are raising huge amount of money. And then you have Wakefit as well in the same industry. So these are extremely important use case that you need to read for your personal growth, not from the examination point of view. Then a very important article with respect to what is happening now. The Conservative Party has overseen a positive reorientation of UK US relationships. And basically when we talk about the Conservative Party, we are talking about Tories here. But the people who are coming to power is basically the Labour Party, who is being led by the person that I told you. No, even I forgotten his name. The name of the first this thing. Let me just check. Where is it? Where is this guy? Starmer. This particular person is going to head is probably going to be the prime minister now. Now in the last few years, what has happened is that we have opened our relationships with UK, and we have had a migration and mobility agreement. We also have a deep defense agreement, deep technology agreement, also agreement with respect to our this thing our movement of personnel as well. But still we are yet to sign the very important FTA with this. But labor with the Labour Party coming to power, there might be some anxiety, because our relationship with the Labour Party has not been that great. In fact, we had a prime minister earlier who said the Inder Kumar Gujral, IK Gujral, who's also known for his Gujral doctrine. Maybe you can read about that. And he dismissed the then prime minister of Britain as third, and called Britain a third rate power. Now this is something that has been happening. You can read about all of this. The turn of the relationship came from David Cameron, who led the Conservatives to victory in 2010. But now Starmer has also been taking a lot of actions. For example, the very critical sections of his own party. For example, just like the Jeremy Corbyn, who's extremely kind of references, who has put in references in case of Kashmir as well. Now he's been very silent on these issues. He has been mobilizing Hindu community in support of himself as well, because typically Hindu community was supporting Tories. But at the same point of time, you also have to see the interest of Pakistani diaspora, which is at 1.2 million people there. Now for India and for Delhi, there are certain issues that needs to be seen. First is the pressure to curb anti-India activity that happens in US, especially with respect to Khalistan, and other is to build a very positive relationship with this thing, and manage the problems of UK and large growing South Asian diaspora. But at the same point of time, we also need to understand, and we should stop underestimating the importance of Britain. In fact, it is one of the largest trading partners that we have. It is 6 times that of Russia, and it's still one of the largest economy. It's behind India, but still one of the largest economy. And technologically and per capita income base wise, it's at $50,000 per year. So we need to have a relationship which a couple of people from the labor side call as progressive realism, where we are talking about what can be realistically achieved and positively be achieved. So read about this article. It's a good article with respect to India this thing relationship. Now the most important article for the day, where I will spend 5-7 minutes, is, or I would want you to give considerable amount of time, is this particular article, because, and this is an article that you need to keep with yourself for your optional as well. Take a printout of this article, keep it with you for your economics optional, because there is a related article that we are anyways going to do when you are going to study the Indian economy. Now think of it as an addendum to that. Now let's understand this particular issue in detail. Now what is happening is that our GDP growth rate is around 8%, which is extremely good. Our investment rates are around 33-34%, which is again a decade high. Our banking delinquencies have gone down. Our NPA level is at 2.8%. Fiscal deficits are going down. Everything is going well. In terms of inflation, although the food inflation is high, but at least the core inflation and the headline inflation is low. We have sufficient reserves. So on the face of it, the health of the economy seems good. But then why is investment not picking? Especially why is private investment not picking? One reason of that we had given was that the consumption cycle has gone for a toss, and the private consumption is growing only by 4.4%. That is one explanation to it. The other explanation, which is given by Arvind Subramanian, is that despite all of the measures that we have taken, we are only looking at the investment side. Now, try to understand this conundrum. Now there is an investment side and there is a risk side to a particular investment. Now when I suppose I have 100 crore rupees with me. Now when I'm investing in India, I will see that whether India is investable or not depending on what am I going to earn. If on investing 100 crore rupees I can earn 500 crore rupees, that's a very good investment because I'm going to earn a lot of money. This has been the focus of government of India. It has been reducing corporate taxes. It has done a number of measures with respect to that. But when it comes to risk mitigation, the risk still stands, and that's why a lot of foreigners are not investing. They are investing in terms of FII, and that's why you see the stock markets are increasing. But when it comes to foreign institutional for foreign portfolio investment, they are not investing. Why? Because India suffers from a number of issues which are respect to their risk. The first kind of risk is what is called as national champions risk, or what Arvind Subramanian and Raghuram Rajan say is the 2A risk. The 2A is coming from the Adanis and the Ambanis, the stigmatized capitalism, where anything with respect to say any policy can be changed, and it can be changed in favor of these two players. So this is a major issue, and that is why a number of people are not willing to enter India, because they don't know when these national champions will enter into that industry and the government will give them all the favors. For example, this has happened in port, cement, telecom, and even in media. The second risk that is there is from direct and coercive action of the states, where you have seen that around 40% of income tax raids are accruing to additional tax demands, and there are arbitrary verdicts that have been given. Then you have this electoral bond saga. So what happens is that you really do not know that when the tax authorities will come after you, and it could be a retrospective tax as well, as we saw in the Vodafone and Vedanta case. And despite the fact that international arbitration has ruled in the favor of these companies, we've still not been able to take actions, and whatever actions that we have taken have been taken in duress rather than in conviction. Then finally there is a supply chain risk. The supply chain risk is that we want to make India as a make in India, but at the same point of time, do we have access to raw material from anywhere of the world? Because are you part of the global value chains? To be in the part of the global value chains, you cannot arbitrarily put import tariffs. You cannot put I mean restrictions on trade. But this is a risk that is there with India, and this is a risk that Vietnam has been able to overcome by signing a lot of FTAs. And now in the last 3 4 years, last 2 years, we have now started signing these FTAs. So the good thing is that yes, China is having its own problems in its domestic shares, but at the same point of time, the bad news for India is that it still is a high risk destination which it needs to counter. So this is a very very important article, folks. It's a very analytical article that you need to have and need to understand for your answer writing as well. Then coming to the last article of the day, critical mineral recycling government plans PLI scheme to boost circular economy. Now this is a very very important news for your environment and for your GS as well. If I was there in your shoes, and if I was an examiner, the first question that I would ask next year in next year prelims is, what is urban mining? And this could be a question in your mains this year as well, or maybe next year as well. Now urban mining basically refers to recovery of these critical minerals such as lithium, cobalt, graphite, chromium, and silicon, which are all there in our electronic devices, in a lot of our stuff that we throw away. And mining and recycling, so it is basically use of circular economy, that you are recycling everything, and you're taking out material from whatever you are generating waste, that you electronic waste that you are generating from urban areas, and then extracting all of these critical minerals. This is called as urban mining. Please remember this. And Niti Aayog and government of India with Ministry of Mines is now redesigning a production link incentive scheme for recycling of these critical minerals. So there is, which complements the battery waste and management rules, which basically mandated a phased recycling of used electric vehicles from 2026 onwards. So maybe read about these rules as well. This is very important from your environmental point of view. Please read about this entire thing and how it is incorporated in your extended producer responsibility as well. So this is a good homework for you to be done. Then credit card spends treble in 3 years to 18 lakh crore rupees, 18 lakh crore. And then moderating inflation aiding good recovery in India and China. You can read this. Budget to be presented on 24th July. We will have a special session on budget in our classes as well. And that's it. US on deflationary path, but we need more data before any rate cuts. You can read this. In fact, read this particular article as well. So let me just stop sharing my screen and just give me 1 second, folks. About our day, folks. Now all you need to do is you need to focus. You just need to go through your current affairs. Take another 20 minutes or so, 20-25 minutes. Do your research quickly, and then go back to your optional as well as your GS prep. So with this, I would like to sign off, and I will meet you tomorrow again at 5:15, 5:20, and we'll finish up by 6:20. Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.